All right, Mike D back with another hot spotlight. This time we're taking a different direction. We have somebody who's passionate about music, but just in a different way. We're talking about the PVD content king, Victor Baez, Club Ambition. Finally, long overdue here at Hot 106, man. Welcome in.
I appreciate you, man. It's a full circle moment. I appreciate the words and the kind, actual energy you provide. But it's amazing. Like growing up, listening to this radio station and being here now is definitely a humbling experience, especially since I'm not a rapper or a musician. So I appreciate the invite 100%.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, is that you are somebody who has created content, and not only do you create it and it gets attention everywhere, right? Because, we're talking 373,000 subs on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, first and foremost.
Appreciate
That's
it.
incredible. So that's getting looks all over the world, but you shed such a light on content that goes on here in Rhode Island, too. It's not just covering topics around pop culture and hip-hop. You're talking about stuff that's happening here.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And I try my best, because for the most part, I'm like a one-man band show, like handling all the editing, directing, connecting the dots, scheduling, responding to everything. So I try my best to balance both worlds where, like, randomly I'll do a reaction to, like, a Nicki Minaj, like, last week, and then it goes viral. Nicki Minaj tweets about me, and then that happens. But then, a couple days later, I'll post videos that people are sending me about the floods in Providence, and then those go viral as well. So it's like it's a crazy, natural balance that's happening with the brand that I'm doing basically by myself. So it's tough, but it's humbling to get the good feedback and support. I love when people, especially in person, like connect with me and show me love. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, but it's the work, like you said, it's the work you're putting in, and it shows, because it's not just some thrown together content. Like you're putting effort in the editing, so you're doing all that, most of it yourself?
Yeah, 100% myself, all the editing. I have a best friend, Marloon, that helps me with camera switching, executive producing, basically podcast episodes.
Yep.
Whenever he can, because he does have a job and stuff. So. And especially if it's not according to our schedule, like if I have to do like a pre-recorded interview or something, some of these artists and people have, special schedules that I want to accommodate to. So I'll just, sit down with them myself. Like I interviewed Euro myself.
Yep.
I handled the cameras myself, switched the cameras myself. I interviewed the mayor of Providence, former mayor Jorge Alorza myself, like that. So I handled it that way as well, but it's always more convenient to have some sort of help, especially because like it's all independent. I have no financial backing from anyone at all. I'm just now working with more local companies to get like sponsorships and stuff, because people always ask, but now I'm getting more professional with it, developing sponsorship packages and stuff of that nature. But yeah, man, I really can't afford to like hire even my friends, pay them to be there. So anytime that anyone's willing to help, it's obviously 100%, I'm grateful for it and I appreciate it, but I know that I have to run it myself. Because even though someone might be like, oh, I'm willing to do this, people are always down to help, but I don't feel like it's. Yeah, I want to pay them. I'd rather pay you. I appreciate your time. So if I really can't pay them, it sucks sometimes. Like having to ask them for the help. So
yeah, but that says a lot about you, because it's not easy. Like it's. Sometimes people see how quick, like, let's say you edit a 1 minute video. Yeah. It takes somebody 1 minute to watch that. But how long is the average video taking you to edit, with the captions, with the visuals, with the audio?
Yeah. It takes like today I'm uploading one that I'm pretty sure is probably gonna go viral locally. It's from the new podcast episode I dropped from Club Ambition podcast, episode 101 this week that dropped, where it's addressing the PVD Fest situation that happened with Brett Smiley and stuff. And I even had the people from the city about 2 weeks ago come in, and I'm going to hopefully eventually meet with Brett Smiley. But it's me discussing, like, the feedback, because I was one of the people that actually, was giving the actual boycott energy. Like, oh, what's going on with these new changes? I was the one that actually leaked the new changes. Like, people were sending me.
I remember that video, The video was going around of you, you asking questions and being like, listen, we need answers. What's going on here?
Yeah, 100%. So I was, like, the main voice for the people, and people were coming up to me in person, like, that stuff you said about the PVD Fest, man, you're speaking up for us. I appreciate it, like giving me hugs and like very like, oh my God. So I'm like, damn, I really got to speak up for the people. So I did that whole movement. I connected with the city. They reached out, and then PVD Fest happened. And then now it's like the time to do a clip from that moment of the podcast where I'm addressing now the feedback, how it happened, and now the backlash from the actual vendors that were there that have lost money because of the rain, no rain checks happening, the whole sort of sense of just disorganization that could have gone better. And I'm pretty sure eventually the city's going to have to admit to it, because they know, You know, I'm friends with a lot of them, but it could have been done way better. So that video, I'll clip it up on my computer for like Final Cut Pro. And I used to use like Adobe Premiere Pro for like the captions and stuff, but that'll take longer. So I've realized I can just use an application called CapCut. So I've started using CapCut and done my own like organic different like color schemes on the captions and stuff. So overall, a 1 minute video to 2 minute video could take like an hour and a half, hour or two.
Right. And
if my son's in a room running around, it'll definitely take like 3
man, because you're a
4
father
hours.
too. You're balancing a whole bunch of stuff in life, you know?
It's
so that's
crazy.
tough when you're an entrepreneur and, you know, you have that hustler mindset.
100%.
You still got to balance real life. Like that's stuff that, you know, people can't take for granted.
Yeah.
You know, because that's content you're providing for people, and obviously a ton of people are consuming it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Where did the passion for like kind of being the voice for like local situations, things happening, not even just in the music world, but like the PVD Fest situation? You know, I've seen you speak up about other things happening. Like, where did that passion come from? Is that something that you've always had inside of you?
It's definitely something I just organically have had inside of me without realizing it. I always say like I'm a consumer of content first rather than a creator of the content, because I'm always consuming content. On the way here, I was listening to The Breakfast Club talking about the situation with DJ Envy and Tyrese. Like I'm always constantly listening to interviews, podcasts, clips, and growing up, the most organic version that basically was about a part of the start of my actual creation of like, oh, let me do it myself, was listening to people like yourself and the whole Hot 106 and the era of radio, listening to the radio, and I felt like people just talking soothed me. Like I loved hearing people talk,
right?
Especially about stuff that I cared about, whether it was hip hop, sports, like. So I'm like, all right, let me just do this myself. And then we always were doing it as friends in our cars, in our basements, hanging out. But then we were like, let's try to put it on camera and do reactions, right?
Yeah, so the reaction videos, that
blew up.
took you to a whole nother level.
Yeah. To this day, it's like one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing we're known for, especially nationwide.
Right.
Because we were the first people to do consistent reactions in a car. You know, so we were the car guys. Every time we were in a car reacting to music, people felt like they related, because every time you're in a car driving somewhere, you're playing music. Or if you're with your friends growing up, we would play music on the way to school, leaving school. You know, or a friend might try to freestyle in the back seat. It was always like an energy in the car. So we provided that organic, you know, friendship, but on camera, mixing it with reactions to albums, singles, music videos. And that blew up. To this day. It's like an iconic thing. Like I have my own studio that I've been able to officially rent out, and been doing the podcast out of there for 3 years. Sometimes I'll do some reactions in there, but it doesn't compare to like the car. People love the car aspect, you know. Hopefully eventually I might get like, I want to get like, the goal is to get like a car sponsorship, like a brand or something. I've been reaching out to Lincoln, because currently I have like a Lincoln, and every time like the Nicki tweet, all these viral moments recently, you see like the Lincoln logo in the background. So I'm like, yo man, they got to reach out. Like, what's going on? So I'm gonna have to reach out myself and try to make something work. But the car thing is very organic, and people always love it. And I've done it already with some artists, but the goal is to consistently keep growing with that, and then have the artists join the car,
right?
You know, and do the reactions with me. Because I feel
you
like
had what, Trippie Redd was
in the car. Cousin Stiz was in the car.
Flawless was in the car.
Was in the car. Euro was in the car. T Shine, he's one of the YSL Young Thug artists, was in the car. You know, so I love having them in the car, and I think that could be something that becomes his own thing as well. Because you know, you have carpool karaoke, you know, and that type of stuff, but I feel like there can be a different organic approach, especially with more hip hop element of a sense. So the car stuff blew us up, and that's something that I was literally the other day, basically in New Hampshire, and then people were recognizing me everywhere I go. People will recognize me for
like, where's
that.
The car dude?
Like, oh, I've seen your videos. I'm subscribed to you. I've seen your stuff. You know, I watch it. You know, so, and whenever I'm at a festival and a concert, they'll recognize me, like, oh, I watched your reaction to his actual album, you know, the guy we're at the concert, whoever the artist is at the concert or the festival, they'll be like, oh, I watched your reaction to this. So that's always something that it's like, oh wow, this is amazing. But I always kept it recording here, like the Trippie Redd. All the interviews I've done in the car has been like here.
Yeah, because he was in town. Actually, I think he left here, the studio, and then went and did went right to your car and did a reaction video. That's dope, because I mean, it's something that you started, like you said, you know, you were like, we would do this anyways. Let's put a camera in here. And then it turned into, wait a minute, now we have the dude actually in the back seat experiencing this with us, and there's people consuming it.
Exactly.
like, is there a moment that you can pinpoint where that hit you, where that actually was like, wait, this is actually happening right now?
The Trippie Redd moment was probably the moment, you know, because that's when, like, I got hit with the whole full, even business side of things. Like, okay, like, he reached out to us, you know, he didn't like our feedback we gave on an album, so he was sending, like, videos, like, mad on Instagram, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you sending me all these videos? Like, here's my number. Do you want to FaceTime us? Let's talk. Like, are you down to talk? Like, you're sending all these videos. Like, it was, like, in black and white.
Oh,
like,
man.
he was putting a filter on it. I'm like, why are you putting a filter on
so
to
he was,
send me these videos?
Upset.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy's really tight. Like, he's trying to, like, even visually show us he's mad by showing black and white, like, type of filter.
That's funny.
I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then we got on the conversation, and then he basically opened up on FaceTime, and I think we have clips of that as well on YouTube, because he allowed us to post that as well, where it's like, he was just saying, you know, I really care about your opinion. I've seen all your videos, you know, and he was telling us, like, him and XXXTentacion, just say before the famous artist passed away, would watch our videos together.
That's crazy.
You know, and then they were all fans, that whole collective of, you know, Ski Master, Slump God, XXXTentacion, and Trippie Redd, that whole collective, Juice WRLD, they were all fans of our reactions this whole time without us realizing it, right? Because they're so big, so they might not feel like they should reach out, but they watched our videos, you know, and Trippie Redd opened up to us, telling us about that. So it made us look at it differently, where it's like, we're not going to, you know, pigeon-toe around the opinion going forward. We're still going to be honest, because that's what made you reach out.
Right.
But we started realizing, like, obviously, if we didn't know already, these are artists, but these are actual humans, just like ourselves. So they have their own, you know, emotions. They have their own feelings. And then also, it was cool to connect with him because he was on some friend type of energy that we're like friends. Like, I FaceTimed him last week. Like, he was on the bathroom, like, you know, doing a number 2 on the bathroom. And then he was, like, just FaceTiming me, chilling on the bathroom. I'm like, this is amazing. So
that's
that
crazy.
Connecting with that is amazing. But then I'm independent again. I have no backing. I have no actual infrastructure behind me. So it becomes frustrating, whereas, like, there'll be moments where, like, at first when we uploaded the Trippie Redd interview, it got taken down, right? It got blocked by the label. So then he had to reach out
Was it because of music?
I think it was because he was playing a lot of unreleased music. He played like 20 unreleased songs damn near. So that was, like, amazing for us. But the label must have gotten mad. Like, what are you doing? Why is this guy deserving of all this? What are you doing? You didn't show us these songs. So they ended up taking it down. But then eventually we were able to put it back up, more edited, like a year or two later. But at the end of the day, the relationship with him maintained. You know, he'll still reach out. He'll still connect. You know, and I'm also, like, I don't expect these people to also be, like, best friends with me either, because like, I sometimes get so busy I don't respond to my own mother. So, like, if a Trippie Redd's not picking up my phone call, or if I'm not picking up his because I might be too busy, I don't gotta look at it too like, oh, it's, oh my god, like, it could have been like a missed opportunity. It's like, no, it's just, we're humans. It's a friendship here. Like, this is okay. But with a lot of other artists, I can see it with, hopefully, it could be more of a business relationship with, maybe, you know, I've done some commission reactions for music labels, you know, Cardi B's label, other record labels I've reached out to do commission reactions. So hopefully we can continue that. But I would love to combine it where it's like, okay, instead of you just commissioning this reaction, let's get the artist on. Let's connect with them and have them in the car and do the reaction together. Because I think that could be beneficial for all parties involved.
Well, because you're already getting, I mean, you have 3 videos with over 1 million views, which is wild. To get one is incredible. You know, sometimes it just takes luck for some people, but it's clear that you're putting the content there because it's there, and then multiple with hundreds of thousands of views. So if you're looking at it from a business perspective, it's like, well, we're guaranteed this amount of eyes on these every single time.
100%.
Now you add the artist into that on top of it, it's going to multiply it even more because people are going to want to see what their reaction is, including yours and your boys in the car. So
100%.
I think that's a really good mindset to have. Now, going from there, how did that transition into the podcast? And I know, because obviously the reaction video is very, whether it's an album or a song, you know, there's a timestamp on that, but there's more content that you want to cover. How did you make that transition to podcasting, and, you know, how'd you get started there? Yeah,
so the entire brand and the YouTube channel started with Eric Robles, known as YI on YouTube, one of my best friends, my brother basically, and then Marlon, my other brother, Marlon Vargas, and they were, it was a trio, so we did the reactions, right? But then they just individually have their own things going on, right? And especially Eric recently, he was like the main, like, I guess you can, for layman's terms, almost like the tag team. It was me and Eric, like YI and Sound on the YouTube channel. So I was like, you know, let's do a podcast. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm like, we should do a podcast because I feel like us just doing what we do in the car, on camera can blow up. Just the same thing.
Because you know how to think out loud.
Exactly.
That's the biggest thing that people, like a podcast or doing reaction videos or any type of content, people think you just go out there. No, you're basically saying your thoughts, just you're able to say them in words too.
100%.
You got to say everything you're thinking, and obviously with the reaction
100%.
videos, you already had that base.
100%. I always tell people I've been realizing it more and more. I'm getting better at putting certain thoughts and ideas into words, but I've been saying, like, it's basically valuing your opinion. Mm-hmm. Someone can tweet something like, oh, this song wasn't that good. You know, oh, this artist should have danced this way or should have worn that. Or this football game, you know, it could have been longer or whatever. But instead of tweeting it or posting it on my Instagram story, what I do is I bring that valued opinion, I value it more and put it on camera on the podcast format. And then from that I can monetize it and also create other clips that can be monetized, create more traction, more revenue. And also, I can speak for a lot of people sometimes, you know, and I'll, at the same time, get backlash. Like, I don't mind if someone doesn't agree with my opinion. Yeah. I'm not saying it for you to agree with me. It's just to spark thought, create actual conversations and stuff. So I've been able to do that multiple times, especially by myself, without needing to just rely on guests and stuff. Like, I'll have clips of myself. Like, I had the Salt Bay clip blow up from the podcast. I posted it on TikTok. It blew up from Salt Bay at the World Cup, touching the World Cup, the trophy. And there was articles written about me in Australia and people saying, like, how, you know, like a day or 2 days after that clip blew up, he was actually now banned from ever doing that.
That's funny. So people were circling back. Salt Bay banned,
bro. People were keep saying, like, I'm the guy that got Salt Bay banned from the World Cup access and stuff. So people been thanking me, like, oh, my God, thank you for speaking up. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess. I was just speaking up my own opinion, but then I end up speaking up for millions of people without realizing it. You know, so that's the power of social media. So that's what I loved about the podcast world, because I saw so many other people doing it, and I felt like, not that it was easy, but I'm like, all I have to really do is just be myself and just speak up, you know. But then I also wanted to be professional about it, so I'm always scripting it. I'm like basically scheduling in guests, everything myself, and like writing out what we're going to talk about, the order of discussions, the timelines.
Damn.
And also helps me out post-editing, because I like doing timestamps on all my podcast episodes, so I'll be able to create timestamps myself afterwards.
Where to find clips, too.
And I also, and I'll be able, from the timestamps, it makes it enjoyable for people to watch, because I love watching podcasts and stuff with timestamps, because the biggest podcast in the world, like the Andrew Schultz, Flagrant 2, or Brilliant Idiots, these big podcasts have timestamps. So I'm like, okay, we have the high quality already. It could get better eventually, yes, the cameras, but let's do timestamps. Like, let's compete with that type of level of already, you know, high-level content. And then with the timestamps after, I'll be able to now create clips myself even faster. Oh, I'll go to that timestamp and then chop that up. Oh, I'll go to that timestamp and make a TikTok from that. You know, so it's an amazing, like, mind I've developed, like trying to just be consistent with this, like recording every Monday, dropping it at Monday night, but then posting it everywhere Tuesday morning, like every week, no matter what. And now I have a Spanish podcast with my dad. I do that every Friday night. Yeah, and then that drops every Saturday. So it's basically building up my own independent podcast network without realizing it.
Right.
So it's an amazing thing, because Lord knows 10 years from now what this could lead to. But at the same time, I'm glad that I'm having fun with it. I'm still, you know, happy to get up and film and record. It's something I'm passionate about. So it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a job, because once it feels like it's too much of a job, I feel like that's where creatives stumble upon that writer's block, and then you end up just being frustrated, and you might sometimes feel like quitting, you know, and it's okay to feel like that. But then, you know, you never be able to be like, oh, you're always going to be like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that?
You don't want to live.
I don't want to live in that. Yeah, I don't want to live with the what if. So it's been amazing, man. The podcast has blown up, like, locally. People love it, you know, especially because I feel like I love talking about local topics, and I feel like my generation, you know, I have people that just look like me, and then even just on content-wise with followers and stuff, sometimes they might get let the clout get too much into their head, and they might forget about the city, forget about Rhode Island. I've never been that way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why would I change?
Evident, yeah.
It's like, why would I change? So I would just provide that to my content. The same time, if I'm walking down the street, someone has a topic about something locally, we'll talk about it. I'll put it on the podcast content form, and then that'll go viral. Whether it's the PVD Fest, whether it's the floods, whether it's, you know, anything, you know, the ACI, the stuff that's happening at the prison. Every time I talk about these type of situations, people feel very proud online. They'll be like, oh my God, you're speaking up. Someone's speaking up. And it's like, yeah, I guess someone's speaking up, but I'm just really genuinely just being myself. Like, I love when people tell me, like, oh, it's amazing. Like, you're speaking up. They love to call me sometimes jokingly the mayor of Providence. Every time I'm walking down the street, that's the mayor, the mayor. I'm like, I appreciate that, but I'm genuinely not aiming to do nothing strategically. I'm just really
it's like
truly
you have
being
a
myself
thought on it, and you have a gift to be able to speak about it and ask the questions. And like you said earlier, I really like to spark the conversation.
Yes,
it's like I'm not here to make the tabloids and make TMZ and do all this stuff. If it happens, it happens. But what I'm here to do is spark the conversation. Because sometimes things goes or people feel a certain way, but they don't feel comfortable to speak up about it. So to be able to be the person that does that, and for people to count on that, it's got to be a good feeling. Do you have any like anxiety about that at all? Is there any pressure?
More recently, I've been feeling more pressure, to be honest with you, because locally I feel like it's gotten so much bigger. Like, I'll go out and people will recognize me more than ever before, and then also the type of audience that kind of now reaches out to me and shows me love will be people that I really genuinely respect, where there's like a mother of a single mother might reach out with like a story, or it might be a worker who has a very corrupt boss at a UPS locally or something. They might reach out. So I'm like, wow, this is really taking a more
taking a whole different turn.
A different turn, whereas like I'm being laid upon, like people are giving me this role that I didn't necessarily sign up for, but maybe it's God steering me this way, maybe it's like just the energy of the earth. So I'm not necessarily derailing from that, but it's definitely something that's new to me, where it's like, okay, this is no longer just kids.
It's becoming a little heavier.
Yeah, it's getting heavier, because I was used to like heaviness in a sense where it's like, throughout the reactions, a lot of kids have reached out where it's like they'll have suicidal thoughts. I'm like, man, they'll reach out. So many kids, like, you literally have saved me from killing myself.
That's got to be
so that type of stuff feeling. Going through that at a young age, I'm like, wow, like, okay, like I can't believe this is happening. So that also made me keep it going. I'm like, if I'm helping someone from killing themselves, why would I stop doing this? Let's just keep this going consistently, at least one video every week. So I kept the consistency going. Now there's like, Lord knows how many videos get uploaded every week on the YouTube channel. Sometimes it might be 10. So, but at the same time, even though there's like a pressure and a sense of like a new role being placed on me, there's a bright side of things where I've become now knowledgeable of the fact that there is a sense of people out here, especially in Providence, Rhode Island in general, especially people of color, black people, young black kids, out here, they need leaders. They need a leader. They need a voice. And even though I feel like there has been a lot that just like the younger generation might not acknowledge, shout out to like a Chach out of Pawtucket, John Hope, what John Hope's done. There's been a lot of leaders, but I feel like they don't get their proper credit where it's due. Maybe because they're of an older generation, maybe. But the younger crowd right now, I feel like whenever I speak up, whenever I do certain things, to them, it just comes off, for lack of better terms, cool. It's like a cool thing. So I'm kind of making certain things that typically weren't cool, like speaking up, having your own platform, having a podcast, locally that hasn't been seen that cool. Now I'm making it where it's like, oh, they realize that they can do it themselves. I have a lot of young podcasters that might want to invite me on, or they want tips, and I'm always open to it. Like, invite me on, have me on. You need any advice? I can give you advice. Like, that's not a problem. I might not be able to, financially help you because I barely can financially help myself, and I have a son, so I have to always put my family first, my son first, no matter what. But if I have a couple minutes, of my day, I'll respond back. I respond back to every DM, like every single DM. I try to check them all, even if it's like a month later. But I respond to them all. Respond to all emails. I prefer emails for anyone out there. I definitely always prefer emails, but there is a sense of the city of Providence needing leadership that I genuinely did not realize. I really didn't realize that there was that much of a needing of leadership. And maybe it's because of the local politicians, everything that's been happening locally where people don't necessarily feel like they're being heard, things are going in their proper direction, but that's always happened, right? People, there's never been a perfect, quote-unquote, politician or perfect, even leader. But I just feel like right now there's a sense of like, okay, every time I speak up, people feel like I'm speaking for them.
Right.
Thousands of people, every single post, leaving comments, whether it's on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and especially in person. The numbers speak for themselves. And whenever I go out, people connect with me, and that speaks more volumes to me because a lot of people think that social media is like fake. It's just, this is just social media. It's not in the real world. But I have actual backing and proving. Like, I'll go out to the mall, wherever, in public spaces, and it gets overwhelming. Like, people actually show me love, and like they get damn near emotional a lot of times, and I'm like, okay, this is there's something happening here.
Yeah,
like
it's the impact that you're making, and every generation needs it. You know, you mentioned John Hope, you mentioned Chachi Carvalho, like they had their impact. They still have an impact. They still have a massive impact and influence that happens in this, and in Rhode Island, Providence, Pawtucket, but every generation needs somebody that they feel is more like them. Yeah. And that's you right now for this generation, is that you're speaking to them in a way that they're able to consume it. You know, John Hope did it through his music. Chachi did it through his music and community events and, going to speak to schools and classes, which I seen you did too.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But it's also, you're doing it in a way where, okay, how are kids consuming this content? It's through YouTube, it's through TikTok, it's through Instagram Reels, it's through Twitter or X, whatever the hell it is now. And, you're making an impact. And that's got to feel good. And it's, as somebody who has been in this area my whole life and has, grown up with a lot of the local influence that we mentioned before, it's nice to see the next generation kind of stepping up and not afraid to touch some of the we'll talk about the music, we'll do the reaction videos, but I'm also going to talk about PVD Fest and the floods and tornadoes and whatever the hell else, and the bras thrown at Drake.
Yeah.
But
100%.
Yeah, it's dope. I got to ask you though, because I'm sure some of the reaction videos, some of the fan bases. Is there any fan? We heard the Trippie Redd story. That's wild.
Yeah.
But has there been any fan bases that have kind of like come at you a little bit? Because they can be scary.
Oh, 100%. The biggest fan base that's come at me so far probably was there was two. I had big issues years ago with the Taylor Swift.
That's a cult. That's
the
not
Taylor
a
Swift fan base.
That's a cult.
And I get it because of the fact. But then eventually, after I made this joke about her, she full circle has made that same joke about herself in the past. But I steer towards a lot of times towards the comedic entertainment type of theme with my content.
Yeah,
like I love
you go over the top with certain things because it's got to be entertaining. You know
I
love
it. Like I love that. Like I grew up watching all that. Like whether it was watching the Jamie Foxx show, the Martin Lawrence show, or whether it was watching clips of
Fresh Prince, Will Smith,
or even a Jim Carrey, or watching. I love watching Will Ferrell interviews. Every single Will Ferrell interview, like he loves going into like a different character every interview. Like I study all that. Like I genuinely like watch and enjoy it, but I also study it. So I look up to comedians, stand-up comedians, all that I respect that field very much. So I apply that to my content. So in the early Taylor Swift reactions, we always had the ongoing joke of Taylor Swift doesn't have a butt, right? Her butt is very flat. Yeah. So I'll be like, oh, she has a straight back. It's like a straight back. It's like one big back from up and down, right? So then her fan base, like especially now, even throughout the years, they'll bring up TikToks, the Swifties, about like targeting me and like this is the guy, like this guy doesn't love her, like let's get him, he's not showing love to Swiftie, blah, blah, blah. And then but then eventually she's made jokes about her physique in her own music and in interviews, etc. And it's like, okay, so now I guess it's okay because she's saying it. It's like it was just a joke, but they really would come at me, especially on TikTok randomly. Before I even had a TikTok, there was TikToks about me from the Swifties. That's funny. But then the most recent ones have been crazy. Have been the Barbs.
Oh yeah, the Barbs. Well, but you were on the good side though, right?
I was on the good side now, but then I was on the bad side when I said, like I said, I always keep it organic and authentic. So I had a Nicki Minaj reaction about like a month or two ago where I was just stating the idea of like is Nicki currently going through maybe writer's block or something? Because I felt like her verses haven't been up to par to her past verses. Right. It's moments like, the Ice Spice collaboration that's like a moment. Like, okay, it's very respectful. Like, oh my God, this is a historic moment. We're gonna always remember Ice Spice linked up with Nicki.
Barbie movie.
Yeah, the Barbie movie is like a lot of dope moments, right? But I'm like, no one is reciting and going back to say these bars and these lines like how they have been in the past. And I'm like, maybe has she already hit her peak, but I'm just putting the question out there, right? And I put that out there, the question, and then the Barbs picked it up. They tweeted about it. They were going at me, got millions of views on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess, all right, it's going to happen. Here we go. Getting flooded with, like, damn near death threats. Like,
it's bad.
Gets crazy. Like, it gets insane, right? And then eventually now, a week later, we have Nicki Minaj literally tweeting that I never lie. Yeah. Like lie detector detects that this man never lies in his videos.
Shared your video.
Like sharing my video reacting to her newest single, which I loved. And I'm like, and I was saying it in the same reaction. I said, oh, this is what I was talking about. Like, this is the type of music I wanted from her. Something organic, where it doesn't seem like it's like a cash grab. It's like an organic energy, rapping, but still R&B,
singing
beautiful,
a little bit, yep.
Not forcing it, something very beautiful. I think it's one of her best songs in years. Like, I love that song.
I agree 100%.
I love that song. She performed at the VMAs. It was an amazing
performance.
Incredible, Sounded great. She had no backtrack vocals. It was like live.
Yeah, it's Pink Friday too, but it sounds like a Pink Friday track. Like, it has that type of vibe.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so then her quoting, retweeting that, and then like showing me the support, like basically, you know, stamp of approval from Nicki Minaj, like if it wasn't already, because she has liked and retweeted certain stuff in the past, but she hasn't necessarily tweeted herself from her own account actual words about me ever until now. So then that showed me, like, okay, she's been paying attention. She basically is confirming she watches my reactions to her, especially at least to her music, and she agrees with that. I never lie.
Yeah,
you know, because that's the worst thing about the industry, where you see a lot of people sometimes be yes men.
Oh,
like,
of course.
You know, they like to deride stuff, and like they're agreeing with everything, yes to everything, approving everything. But that's when things get watered down.
Big time.
It's very much
a lot of artists
down.
have fell into the trap of having yes men and women around them, where it's like
easily.
You need somebody to push back a little bit. You know?
And then people don't realize, like, they love using the term a lot, like fall off. The fall off, like someone's falling off. But like Swiss Beats said one time, which I love, and shout out to Swiss Beats. He's one of the people that earliest show us love years ago as well.
That's my dog.
He's a day one supporter. So he said one time in an interview that always stuck with me, like the idea of like when someone says like someone fell off, they're still in the game. People don't realize, like, for you to fall off, you have to had necessarily been there, whether it's at the top or wherever you define the top. So for them to fall off, they're just one song away from making it back again.
Up. Yep.
You know, Fat Joe's done it. Like, legendary artists that have had, you know, relevancy throughout these years might be dropping songs. You might think, oh, but it's not a hit. It's not a hit. They'll randomly catch one. It can happen, you know, because they are still in the game, whether you realize it or not. So people always like love using that. So I think that's why it's people should be open to just fair criticism. That's why I also don't like going, and sometimes I might do it for comedic purposes. I might be like, oh, this is trash or something, but I'll always, especially if you watch the full reaction, I'll give like a deep dive. Like,
of course,
this is why I didn't like it. The production, the verses, the this and that, compare it to something else. I always give like actual concise thoughts, like to keep the conversation going. But yeah, the Nicki situation was insane, because the Barbs literally, it got so crazy to the point that they, on my header on Twitter, have my son, and they literally screenshotted my son.
Oh, they're crazy,
and
bro.
Replied and saying like, "Oh, this is your ugly son," blah, blah. And I was just responding, laughing. I'm like, "Oh, first of all, he's beautiful.
Yeah, he's
not ugly at all.
What are you talking about?"
And on top of that, is like your account was like just like a random account with like 20 followers.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have Nicki Minaj as your avatar, so it's like you're in her fan base. But it's like, this is just music. Like, let's not get personal. Like, when people take it personal, that's when I get like, all right, calm down. Like,
it's a whole different animal. And like, we actually interviewed Nicki a couple years ago.
I watched that,
and it was a great interview. She was super, like, she couldn't have been nicer. She was super, super dope. And I was thankful because it got positive reaction from the Barbs.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, good. I got them. I'm on the good side. And I've always been super careful about being critical about her because like you said, they'll find stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they'll dig deep. The Swifties, I mean, you've had beef with two of the biggest fan bases that exist. But
that was a good interview. You guys did a good job with that one. I watched that one.
I appreciate that, man.
I think I posted actually a clip from that one. I forgot. There was like a headline that dropped from that interview. I forgot what it was.
It was the new body. It was the Kanye one.
That one.
Yeah.
But I had a viral tweet from your interview.
I remember that.
I posted it. I remember that. I posted that.
And Drink Champ shared it and stuff. Like, it was a dope moment.
Yep. I love that.
But that's what it's all about. You know, it's about like being honest, not being, you know, like you said, sometimes people have to separate embellishment, like you're kind of going over the top because you got to be entertaining, but at the end of the day, you have knowledge where you can actually sit down and say, well, this is why I feel this way.
Yeah,
it's not just to sit here and yell it's trash so the internet reacts to it. It's because I think that this verse could have been more, this hook was lacking this, the production was weak, whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's always a purpose to everything, but regardless, man, you get the people talking. And you have a way with words, and you have a way of getting your content out there.
I appreciate it.
We'd love to. We got to do this again for sure sometime. But
whenever you invite me, I'm down.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely be in contact. But let's look ahead 5 years, man. Where are you seeing Club Ambition, the podcast, the YouTube, the reaction videos? I know you mentioned getting some artists involved and stuff, but like, where do you see this all going? Where do you want it to end?
Man, I really see this growing to extreme high levels. Hopefully, literally within the next 5 years. Like, I have goals to still maintain a local base, but I want to do so much stuff. Like, anything that no one's doing out here, content-wise, I want to tap into. And I'm already planning behind the scenes to tap into, whether it's like a Rhode Island dating show for the YouTube channel.
I like that.
I want to do stuff of that nature. Like, I feel like I can create so many things because people tend to say the term, like, Rhode Island, oh, it's a small state in the country. It sucks. No one cares about Rhode Island. Oh, Long Island?
Yeah,
There's always this joke. Is it Long Island?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, Rhode Island, what's there? There's a bunch of roads. So I look at it where it's like, it's a small state in the country, so why would I try to go to, like, a New York or L.A.? Like, I've had the opportunity. Years ago, early on to the YouTube channel, we had a big opportunity to potentially move to L.A., meeting with the big people, talking big numbers of money. But we were so young, and it's like, thankfully, we basically turned down that situation because we would have bitten off more than we could chew. Like, it would have been way more.
Definitely.
Like, we don't
sometimes
need to
people see that and they don't. That's good foresight by you, because sometimes people see that, like, but then you end up losing a lot, because you lose control. First of all, you're most likely going to lose control a lot of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then you might, like you said, bite off more than you can chew and be way out of your league. Not out of your league, but like, it could discourage you because 100%. You feel like you're not living up to what you're supposed to be doing.
100%, bro. We had a meeting with someone that will remain nameless, but we had a meeting in L.A., a lunch, where the man literally asked, like, he looked me in the eyes and asked us, if I give you $1 million right now, what would you do with it?
Damn.
And I was like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know. And I don't know if he didn't like the answer, etc. It was almost like a blur. After that question, the whole meeting was like a blur to me. Like, I forgot what else. Like, I still try to remember sometimes, like, what the hell else we were talking about. But it's like, that situation, showed us also, especially me, I was like, there's a potential here. Like, no matter what, like, I already knew I had to keep it going because, like, I felt energized by doing it. Even getting this invite to come to LA, meet with us, etc. But then offers like that so early in the career, I'm like, okay, I got to keep this going, especially independently, because this can become something that is like generational wealth for future children.
Oh, for sure.
And now I do have a son, so now I'm literally thinking that way. So that was something that, I had to easily put into mind. But it's like, going back to the main focal point is like, why would I go to a big pond and become another small fish? Everyone's trying to be someone out in L.A., New York.
Big time.
So we have the smallest pond here in Rhode Island, so I'm going to try to become a big fish easily. And it's easier to do in a sense where it's like, if you just do what you love and you keep going at it out here, people are going to realize and notice it as long as you keep it consistent. I know a lot of people start a podcast up, do this and that for like a couple months, or do things seasonally. They don't keep it consistently. So people are not going to actually see you and support you.
Exactly. That's what separates the people who are going to succeed from
100%.
Compared to the people that don't. They want the easy way out. There's no 100%. Easy way out in this game, man.
There's no easy way out, And I also embrace failure. Like, it's okay to fail. People are scared of failure. If I go out today and try to do something, post it up, and it gets 10 views, let me learn from this and do it again. But a lot of people see that and they think like, man, I really I worked 2 months on this. I really thought it was going to take off. I quit. Let me go back to my regular job. But it's like, that's not the mentality you should have if you really are a real deal dreamer, if you really want to, become necessarily of a legendary status. Like, all these people that have made it to such a high plateau, people love using like industry plan, etc. And I get it because there's a lot of conspiracies. But when you do a lot of research, like a Sexy Red and all these people that blew up, like, they've been doing a lot of work for years. Like, behind the scenes, they've been doing a lot of stuff for years. It might have been regionally, locally, in their school. But they've done a lot of work behind the scenes. Their family might have been helping them behind the scenes or something. Like, so you really don't realize the amount of work that actually goes into these quote-unquote overnight successes. So I recommend everyone out there to just keep on going. No matter what, try it out. Like, don't create an excuse when there's not really one.
Right.
Like, oh, I failed. What is failure? How are you measuring that failure? Is it because of the views or... what is the failure to you? Don't you at least feel good that you did it?
Yeah, you did something you enjoyed.
That should be success for you. Like, level that as a level of success. That could be level 1 success, right? Tier it off. Now, what's level of success 10? You might not gotten to that yet, but it is not necessarily a failure.
Right.
Turn that L into a lesson. People love, oh, that's a corny phrase, but it's facts. It's facts. Turn that L into a lesson. Like, it's a loss.
I like that.
Nah, it's actually a lesson. Let's learn from this and actually make it a bigger win in the future. because, whether it's interviews that don't get views, whether it's, you've been playing basketball and it's not going well for you, look at it as practice. Mm-hmm. If I do an interview that might get 10 views, but I felt like it was an amazing interview, I spoke for 3 hours, it's practice. It's setting me up for, let's say, later down along the lines when I do a Lil Wayne interview.
Right.
That might just be 30 minutes. Well, I've done so many 3-hour-long interviews with people that might have got 10 views that now I can do this quick 30-minute interview with this mega star like it's nothing, right? So you have to look at it like practice. Everything also can become a practice. It doesn't have to be just a sport for things to become like a practice. You don't have to be a professional athlete. Everything is a practice for your actual talent and your actual career path. So that's what I would encourage people to do. Like, do not stop. Just keep on going. Even if I don't like your content or whatever, just don't care about people's necessarily opinions. Like, if you care about it, make it something that's beneficial to you. Like, oh, this person didn't agree with this. Okay, maybe I should do this. Change this up that way. Like, don't just be necessarily like full on blocked and discouraged. Like, I can't do this. I quit forever. Like, I think that's a terrible mentality to have.
That's a terrible mentality to have, and comparing yourself to others and their success and how they got there. That's never the way to do it. Focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll get there, man. Well, Vic, it's been a pleasure, dude.
I appreciate you.
It's been a fantastic conversation. Club Ambition. Go subscribe on YouTube. You'll be one of 370,000 plus. All right, go follow on all socials, man. We're gonna do this again. All right, bro.
100%. Whenever you want, I'm down. Love, man. Appreciate you, and it's an honor. Thank you, man.
Say likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, man.